We could prioritize all we want on things we want to do, but we don't have the money, right? We're running a $19+ trillion debt. So what do you say to that?
Well, that's always the excuse that is often being told, right? We don't have the money for anything. I say that our country really lacks creativity and the will.
All right, then I got a little more heated. Reaction now to Chris Bedford, from Chris Bedford and Bradley Clinton and Sarah Chamberlain. Her basic argument, which she expressed questionably, was, we can do better. Hillary Clinton, you're pathetic, and Bernie Sanders, you get it. The gist of it. What do you make of that?
Well, she didn't want to talk about taxes, but her candidate sure does. We have a report coming out on Monday on tax day that shows where he's going to hit you in your wallet. And if you're in the 50th percentile of Americans, your taxes are going up by about 8% more, gone out of your paycheck. In fact, she didn't really want to talk about anything you pinned her on. If you wanted to talk about college, she changed it to Europe. You talked about Europe, she changed it to prisons. You got back to college again. The bottom line is America spends more money on education than any other country on the planet. We get terrible results because we don't hold anyone accountable, and there's an entire class of victims that say the only thing is you need to give me more, give me more, give me more. Why are we spending on this or that? Spend more on me. And you can't really please those people. When you got her down to it, her problem was with capitalism.
You know, Sarah Chamberlain, the one thing I always think that maybe candidates are missing, because this is a palpable populist rage expressed in strikes and protests going on around the country as we speak, and that we do have to reprioritize our spending if that's it. My only big issue here is, why is the automatic knee-jerk push on the left to raise taxes or to willy-nilly raise minimum wages without addressing maybe underlying issues? Now, two separate issues, but just dispense with the minimum wage thing more time to talk about the government and the government spending that goes on. Let's address that spending before we talk about giving the government more money to spend. What do you think?
You're absolutely right. It's easier to talk about raising taxes because that's a soundbite that people understand. And majority of the country, it's like, okay, let's get these 1%ers. But the reality is, you're absolutely right. We do have to know where the money is going and start to cut expenditures and take a look at some of these programs and see if they're even needed any longer. And then when she started talking about war and we didn't need nuclear weapons, I'm sorry, but we have an enemy out there called ISIS, and they don't like the Americans. They would do all they can to kill as many Americans as possible.
No, you're right about that. But, you know, Brad, I even raised the possibility, not that I would support it, let's take away the whole $600+ billion defense budget for you. Let's not pay anything. That would still leave you at best even with the money going out versus money coming in. So you'd have to cut or rearrange priorities, even allowing that. And I think the big bugaboo here, entitlements are a large part, the fastest growing part of our budget. But people are very leery on the left to address that. And by the way, Republicans just as leery to specify that. What do you think?
It's a time of selfishness, Neil. This was a Robin Hood theory of economics, that if we just take from the rich and give to the poor, everybody is going to be fine. That's not. You could take away all their wealth, and as we know, it wouldn't make a dent in the obligations that we have today. $19 trillion in debt, match that plus the entitlements we're already on the hook for, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. What she doesn't